This leader is provided to facilitate adjustment of focus. Please be aware there are spoilers contained in this video presentation.
Here's a look at life in France. The goal is to entrance, but now I must expose. This is the only French song that I know, so I have to play it real slow. I see La Vie en Rose.
Amélie was directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. It was released in 2001. It was nominated for Best Writing, Art Direction, Cinematography, Sound, and Foreign Language. And it got a nomination for Golden Globe Foreign Language.
This is like the Sir Mix-a-Lot song where it has a lot of butts, but not butts as that. It was boring, but I didn't really find myself like wanting to turn it off. I'm like, she's just so French. But I kind of felt like I was watching an art film, which I was in fact watching an art film. And
there's a lot of Frenchness in there.
There's a whole lot of Frenchness. Oh, there was a lot of reading. That was my biggest take that I forgot. I totally spaced that when I watched it last night.
I thought that I was ready, but that initial salvo, I was not quite ready for. I remembered watching it in the theater and just really loving this movie. But I'd also gone to France and went to Paris, and while lots of people have bad experiences when they go to Paris, I loved every bit of it. This movie is like a fantasy version of what Parisian life could be if everything is perfect and you don't have to worry about spending money. I spent $8 on an Orangina in Paris.
Her finding that box, it was like, oh, to live somewhere that wasn't built 20 minutes ago. Just imagine that.
If you pull the drywall off, like, there ain't nothing back there you want to see. So
exactly. I really like the convention of this is so-and-so and they like this and doesn't like that. As an introduction, it felt very formal in kind of a French way. I remembered the thing about the garden gnome, but I couldn't remember that it was this movie.
Travelocity.
What a ripoff.
That's a total pilfering. The garden gnome is what I remembered. Well, that came out before Travelocity had the travel gnome. They totally ripped that off.
But I think there was an urban legend about somebody doing that. So, I mean, I guess it was probably ripped off before.
So Amélie came out in 2001, and the character of the garden gnome came out in 2004.
That's just enough time to let it kind of settle to where you might get away with it without people referencing.
Where she's trying to do good, like that one store owner was like really mean to the one-armed man.
It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
Richard Kibble.
So Amélie like completely jacks his place up. I can see why what she was doing, but it kind of harassing this person to be nicer to other people. But I just
and how do you be nicer to other people with almost starting an electrical fire that could burn your apartment building down?
With an American movie, you don't have anything that doesn't work. And so this one, you've got some plans that work out great and some plans that don't work out so good and some plans that are complete disaster. And that it's just kind of a random assortment. So I think that adds to the diversity of the story.
I can see that.
With the exception of a few places where they just go weird. Like this could be like a children's film. It's kind of magical.
Except the parts where they show vajayjays.
Well, there's that. I don't really understand why he would need to work at a porn store.
Was there color correction in that? There's one part where it's specifically just like the greens and the reds are like really, really rich.
Yeah. The palette and some of the aesthetics are supplied by Juarez Machado paintings. They took a painter, looked at his paintings, and then tried to craft the world in terms of that. I think that's bold and hardcore. If you just sit down and watch it, you don't have to really dig into how sad she is and her arc. At some point, you can just be kind of like, oh, she runs around and does this stuff, and then everything is good, and hooray for us. And it works, and I think that it's a compelling story. And then if you kind of dig into it deeper, there's definitely layers to be had down there.
Like an onion.
Ogres are like onions.
The scene where she walks the blind guy across the street and then is narrating, the combination of editing, music, and cinematography in that particular section is really breathtaking, because it starts out slow and it just ramps up and ramps up and ramps up and ramps up. You need somebody that was really good at dubbing if you're going to try and replace that audio, because the pacing of her speech is crucial to that scene working out. The blind guy turning into a sunflower at the end may be a bit on the nose, but you know, it's no, I mean, I like it. I don't care what you say.
No ukuleles in this movie, but man, there's a lot of accordion. Oh man, that made me happy.
And you could totally put a ukulele kind of anywhere you wanted to.
Oh, so I'm gonna give this 3 ukuleles. I thought it was like I liked it. It was I unlike some people really enjoy reading subtitles, and but I did like it, and so yeah, 3 ukuleles.
I would give it 4 all day long. I think that it's really an interesting view on life, and kind of like this joyous walk down a Parisian avenue. So yeah, I'd give it 4.
Just so French. I am going to go 2.5. It's kind of bananas, but it's still like a pretty nice story.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, 2.5 for me.
It's over.